Welcome to another episode of Five Things. On this episode, we are going to talk about the romantic comedy and the 5 rom-coms that you guys should be checking out.
I am inevitable.
Rom-com is a subgenre of comedy where often you have 2 lovers that are apparently meant for each other. Yet they face personal and social obstacles that keep them apart until they overcome these circumstances and are finally reunited in a fairy tale style happy ending. So we wish that for everybody. It is said that the first rom-coms took place in the silent era of films in the 1920s. 1924 was Sherlock Jr., starring Buster Keaton, and then Girl Shy, starring Harold Lloyd. Now, in the 30s, rom-coms were known as screwball comedies, which featured quirky plots and slapstick execution, helmed by a strong female protagonist with a focus on the couple's growth, typically ending in marriage. The 50s ushered in what is known as the sex comedy, aka the Battle of the Sexes, focusing on the differences between men and women, who were often 2 professional rivals pitted against each other until sparks began to fly between them.
That and you started to see ankles.
And it is during this era where the term rom-com was first coined in about 1958, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Now, it's not until the 1980s where we begin to see the rom-com evolve into what we know today, where John Hughes transformed the genre with 16 Candles. We have our guest from the Popcorn Confessional, another show on Nerdbox, and that is Jennifer.
Yay!
Welcome to the show. Welcome to 5 Things. So let's kind of jump right into it. So, Jennifer, what is number 5 on your list?
Okay, so my number 5 is Jexy.
What?
Oh.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
You know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
No. What, do I look like I should
Oh
be
my
a
god,
fan?
it's hilarious. Basically, Jexy is about this guy who is very, Adam Devine is the main actor, and he's a guy who's like he's a nobody. He goes to work every day, he comes home, he scrolls through, social media, he doesn't really have any friends. He pretends he does, but he doesn't have any friends. And one day his iPhone gets busted. So he goes to the cell phone store, which is run by Wanda Sykes, hilarious, and gets this Android. And instead of it having like Siri or Bixby or, Google or any of those, it has Jexy. That's the person that you speak to. But Jexy is she's kind of alive. Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she basically it starts out with her trying to get him to be more open and make friends and have more of a life. But then when he does that, Jexy gets jealous. And she's basically like a stalker on his phone. He tries to switch his phone. Jexy follows him. But it's hilarious. It's just, there's a lot more comedy than romance, but it's there.
You just described Age of Ultron as a rom-com.
Well, except that in Age of Ultron, the computer doesn't make you have sex with it.
Yeah, phone sex is brought to a whole new level here.
Yeah.
That's I'm not surprised. Okay, yeah. I'll check it out. Holy shit, are we off to a raging start. An 80s movie that as I recall, is probably the first rom-com I ever watched. Roxanne. I'm a huge Steve Martin fan.
Wow.
And I always dug, at a very young age, I'm gonna sound really sappy right now because I'm a sap at heart. I'm a romantic guy. I know it's hard to believe, but the premise of Roxanne, essentially, Steve Martin plays the fire chief for the small town in bumfuck nowhere. Who knows? And he is a brilliant person. He's like Steve Martin is. He's very dry, funny as hell. But he falls in love with this woman that lives in the town. The thing is that Steve Martin's character has a bit of a thing. He's got a deformity, if you want to call it that. I don't want to call it that, but he's got this comically huge Pinocchio nose. I'm sure you guys have seen the movie.
Yeah.
And he turns around, and because he's so mortified, he gets along with this woman and her best friend, who I think, if I remember correctly, owns like the local diner or something like that. Like he gets along, but he just can't tell her how he feels. So he kind of talks one of the firemen that either are underneath him, I guess, to kind of pose as him, and they do the Shakespearean, like, speaking to him while Steve Martin's in the bushes. And this guy is dumb as rocks. So there's all kinds of comedy where he screws up everything Steve Martin's trying to tell him, and this is beautiful, like, elegant thing, whatever. I feel like the movie doesn't get nearly enough credit. I don't know. I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I have to admit, it kind of faded into the background,
It did.
when it comes to movies. But
and it's Steve Martin. Like, I love Steve Martin.
Yeah, Steve Martin too. I guess that's like one of those forgotten movies. But when I remember watching, I always wanted to play ring toss with his nose and just throw a couple rings on there.
Yeah, I would. Why not? Dave, what do you got?
I didn't expect this to happen, but I have a number 5 too. That is also Jack Sieg. So I guess you could tell we're married by this choice here. Choosing Jack Sieg. Jen said enough here, so you have the smart-ass phone giving Adam Devine a bunch of shit throughout the entire movie. My one complaint is I'm tired of seeing Adam Devine's junk in movies. It's like, enough already. Yeah. I do not need to see it anymore. I don't care if you're proud of it. Put it away.
My number 4 is Love, Simon. So basically, Love, Simon takes place in high school. It's just a group of friends. They hang out all the time. 2 of them are a lot closer than the rest. They've been friends since they were kids. Turns out that, girls in love with boy, but the boy's in love with other boys. So it's not going to go any further. But it's kind of nice because it's an overall telling of, because it was more, it's newer. So it's an overall telling of what it's like to be gay and in high school and, coming into yourself now.
My number 4 is As Good as It Gets, with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. Or her sister, her cousin, twice removed, Heather Hunt.
I have not seen this one.
You've never seen As Good as It Gets? So
no.
It's actually a fairly progressive movie in a lot of ways. It starts out with Jack Nicholson is just a crotchety old man. And there's a thing at the end that a lot of people kind of get, and I remember zeroing in on this when I was younger, but as you could imagine, this is like 1998, 99-ish, this movie might have come out. Jack Nicholson, when Helen Hunt was like popular, like Twister was a year maybe before, and she was kind of like at the top of her game, I guess you could say, if she had a game. So there's a huge age difference. But anyway, Jack Nicholson plays this crotchety old man who goes to the same diner every day and kind of ends up with the same waitress every single day, and it's Helen Hunt's character. And he will only go there if she's working because he's got a thing for her. Thing is, he kind of treats her like shit, but he treats her like shit in the way that like Rick Sanchez on Rick and Morty treats people like he cares. He cares for his family, but he kind of treats them like shit anyway. It's kind of like that. So anyway, a secondary part of the story is his neighbor, who is gay, gets jumped at some point early on in the movie, and he has this really annoying dog that Jack Nicholson has to take in. And basically what happens is somehow it just works out that Jack Nicholson has a dog. And because of this, in combination with the Helen Hunt thing, he becomes a little softer and whatever, and that's kind of it. Like, I don't know. It's, you gotta, like, I don't really know how to describe it beyond that. It's just one of those things where, like, the main character is like, he's kind of a shit. Like, no one wants to be around him. You know, he's just kind of a miserable crony, or like just kind of a whatever curmudgeon.
My number 4 is in the horror genre. And what better way to have a rom-com than with Shaun of the Dead?
I'm glad. That's a good one. That's a good one. I might top you. I'm gonna tell you right now. I will say this: you'll top me for more obscure, but I might top you for overall choice. I think.
All right, we'll have to see. So,
but that's a good one. That's I did not think of that.
Yeah, so we have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in the first of their trilogy of movies, and what better way for a guy that's struggling in life and is having a hard time with his relationship and supposed to be celebrating his anniversary, screws that up by not booking the reservations. And as he's going through the fields in this movie here, a zombie apocalypse breaks out. So the plan to get the girl back is, hey, let's go rescue Mom. Let's go rescue Liz. Let's go to the pub and sit back and have a pint.
Everyone but him and his girlfriend. I think everyone else dies, right?
Pretty much, except for some neighbors and stuff like that.
I mean, as far as the main cast, I don't think anybody makes it with the two of them. He's got what's his face in the shed.
Yeah, he's got him in the shed so we can play video games with him.
Right,
so.
he's a zombie, right? But he doesn't make it though. Yeah, everyone dies.
No. Yeah, so at the end of the day, he gets the girl.
That's right.
And he gets to keep his best friend as a zombie. So it's a buddy film.
It's
a rom-com. It's a little bit of everything.
Jen's like, half the planet's gone. What I
was going to say, I almost wonder. I mean, I love the movie. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, of course he got the girl because, I mean, does she have very many options?
Yeah, they got to procreate. They got to figure it out.
Look. You're seeing at the end of the movie, a woman was still married to the zombie, right? She's like, I love the guy. What can I do?
Yep. So we want to thank you guys for watching 5 Things. If you get the opportunity, if you like what we're doing here, you enjoy what we're discussing, maybe you have an opinion, make sure to hit subscribe, give us a like, and throw some comments down there. Any suggestions you have for future lists, we'd be more than happy to entertain, more than happy to give you what you want, because that's why you're here, right? So make sure to click that like, slam that subscribe, and now let's get back to the list.
My number 3 is 10 Things I Hate About You.
I've never watched it.
Wow.
I always wanted to. I don't know why. I think I know why, but I never did. Is it good? I guess it's good, right? You picked it.
It's one of my favorites. It's one that I'll go back to. I mean, it's not something that I'll watch, even once a year, but if it happens to be on, then I'll sit back and I'll watch it. Sometimes I've even gone looking for it to see where, if I could watch it. I love Heath Ledger. Sometimes I get a little nostalgic because, he was so great and, miss him. So there's him, and I always liked Julia Stiles. She kind of reminds me of me. She's a bitch. So
can I tell you a quick story? As if you have a choice, I'm doing it anyway. I was leaving New York. This is probably 15 years ago. I had some random trip to New York I took. I saw Julia Stiles on the side of whatever street in the middle of Brooklyn. Her head is fucking huge.
Yeah.
She looks like a Tootsie Roll Pop. I'm not even exaggerating. Slender man physique, like 6'9". She's a giraffe. But her head is just huge. I wish she didn't sue me. Continue.
So I mean, basically it more centers around 2 teenage sisters whose father is a OBGYN, delivers a lot of babies from teenage parents. He's a single dad. Mom took off, left the family. So he's constantly worried that his daughters are going to go out and have sex and get pregnant and ruin their lives. And so the older sister, played by Julia Stiles, her name is Katerina. And she's, known just for being the cold-hearted bitch in school. She's the shrew. Everyone's afraid of her. No one talks to her. She has one close friend. Guys won't go near her because she's so scary. but really you don't know what it's all about. It really is because she was hurt by someone who, she ended up having sex with someone when she was young, and he ended up being an asshole. And now her younger sister, played by, I can't remember her freaking name.
Blankety blank face.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I can never remember her name. But her sister likes the boy that she had hooked up with, who's played by Andrew Keegan. But then the younger sister is liked by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I love. I just think he's awesome. He's amazing.
He is amazing.
Yeah. And so it's just a lot of teenage drama. It really is. It's high school, it's teenage drama, but we've all been there. So I just connect with it. And I love the actors. I do. I love the actors.
What's your number 3 there, Charlie?
The Wedding Singer.
Oh,
I love that movie.
I left that off my list.
Yep. That one, can I tell you, that was the easiest one. And I'm not even going to, because everyone's seen The Wedding Singer. I guess I could go through it. But everyone's seen it. And you know why? With the staying power of that movie, and I just had this conversation with the wife a couple weeks ago. I was like, I always wanted an alternate reality where Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore actually got married. They have, I'm sorry, for me, arguably, they have some of the best on-screen chemistry.
Yeah.
For a goofy guy that got famous going, shabba-da-doo, and the fire starter, like, it's amazing when they do a movie, like, they can both have stinkers, but for some reason, when they do a movie together, like, it's usually good. It's almost, I mean, even 50 First Dates is like a totally watchable movie.
Yeah.
Samwise is hysterical in it, but either way, like, they're both good too. Like, it's, I don't know, but Wedding Singer is like, that is for me one of the better rom-coms to come out of the 90s easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how that didn't make my list. I totally forgot about that. That's probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie. Is that one?
It's not my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but it's I mean, it's got to be everyone's top 3. It's probably my second favorite.
Yeah. Well, my number 3 actually features Kroll the Warrior King. It is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So that is with Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey.
This close. It was this close to being on my list.
Yeah, so this is almost harks back to the 1950s where you have the battle of the sexes. So you have Matthew McConaughey's character who is doing a challenge where he has to, his bet is he can make any woman fall in love with him in 10 days, and then he wins the account that he's after. And then you have Kate Hudson that wants to write a piece for her magazine where she can turn a guy off in 10 days. So, I think the two of them together, it's almost like Sandler and Barrymore. Chemistry together was great. The film is fun. And it's something that I can watch and not get tired of. So,
I'm not going to lie. Matthew McConaughey could totally win me in 10 days.
I feel like he could win anybody in 10 days.
He can. Right. Like, I mean, he's just the man. He is the man. I love Matthew McConaughey.
And my number 2 is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
All right. We could have had a 3-peat. I'm an idiot.
That's a movie that we watch together. We watch together so many times. I love it. It doesn't get old.
It doesn't get old.
Mm-mm.
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Deadpool
okay.
1. Deadpool 2, I guess I love it, but Deadpool 1 especially. He says right in there, it is that is a romantic comedy. It is a fact. That is one of the funniest movies to come out in the last probably 5 years easily, if not, And let's be honest, at the end of the day, he's just trying to get the girl. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Even if she is less than favorable and there is some pegging, doesn't matter. It's a movie full of a lot of heart.
Yeah.
A lot of heart and other things.
Yeah. A lot of other things. My number 2 is my number 1 favorite of the modern era, and it is Sweet Home Alabama. With Reese and Josh Lucas.
Fuck you! A piece of shit.
I thought it was just a very. It's in the title. It's a sweet movie. So, you have Reese Witherspoon playing a person that's leaving the sticks of the South and is making a career for herself. And she's going to get married to the mayor's son, and then she has to fly back home to finalize the divorce. Yeah, Patrick Dempsey. He was insignificant in the movie. You could have put anybody in that part. So you have Reese that she flies home, and she has to sort out her relationship. And it was nice to see that whole high school relationship between those two guys play out until to the ending, where they decided to get back together.
I just watched it like a month ago. It was on, and I was just like, I guess I'll leave this shit on. And I was, well, that's a rom-com. I don't know what, but I will say this: it made me remember, like, yeah, Dempsey, like, kind of a good-looking dude. Like, he played like kind of a dork in a lot of '80s movies, if I remember.
Yeah,
like,
he did. Yeah.
He was kind of a chode or whatever you want to,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, he matured. But Reese Witherspoon in her forehead. Whatever, right. Man. I'm not gonna shit in your cereal. You do you.
Jem, what's your number 1?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh my God!
And I feel like Dave probably knew that. I absolutely love that movie. I can recite that movie line for line. I just love it. First of all, Reese Witherspoon is like my spirit animal. I just adore her. I love her in everything she's in. Back in the day, people actually told me I looked like her, so I just love her. So
yeah, so there's that video floating on the internet when Reese gets arrested for sticking up for her husband. Yeah, that would have totally been Jen in the same type of situation.
I'm literally speechless. I mean, but hey, like I said, I'm not here to judge. Maybe I gotta watch the DVD. I watched it on TV. Maybe there's some F-bombs that I missed. I don't know. I swear to God, if Fever Pitch is on either of your lists.
Well, that was my number 1, so I have no other.
Don't. Is it really?
No, yeah. I don't even like that movie.
I was like, no, because I was like,
no.
I was racking my brain for romantic comedies, and I was like, that came up. I'm like, I don't like that movie. Why am I going to put that on the list? All right, my number 1, and I will fight people for this. My hand to God, I will fight. I will. The best romantic comedy ever. What Women Want. With Mel Gibson.
I don't think it would have made my top 10, but okay.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Martin Riggs gets a bad rap. Sure, he's not a fan of the Jewish people. I mean, you do you, bro. It's not my bag. But this was before that. So, Martin Riggs wearing ladies' panties for a few minutes, it's good for gags. That scene when he's in the bathroom trying to figure out whatever, and he's like smoking a cigarette, it's hysterical. It's a funny movie. It's a friggin' funny ass movie.
I think a lot of people forget how funny Mel Gibson is in comedies.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he suffers from the same late career bullshit like I was kind of talking about Sandler. Arguably worse, I would say.
I think being anti-Semitic is probably a little.
Yeah, But he directed Braveheart. Who gives a shit? He made light of the Holocaust.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm not a fan of Mel Gibson, because I do like Mel Gibson, and I do like that movie. But it's not even in my top 10, I don't think. So
really? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of an age thing. I don't know. Like, I was probably let's see. I graduated in 2002. I would have been 18 then. That movie probably came out when I was like 15, 16 years old or something like that. Maybe. Like, again, that was like as good as it gets too. To be fair, also, some of these movies definitely as good as it gets. Maybe what women want. Probably were copies that I had like when I used to stay at my grandparents' house and stuff like that. Like, this is pre-internet, like, streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a period of time where it's like you kind of had what you had.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this comes in too. It's just like, they fall into a place where it's just like that's maybe it's a little nostalgia. I don't know. They're good movies. Whatever. Fuck you both. Sweet Home Alabama. You got nothing to say.
Oh well, my number one's Fever Pitch.
I swear to God.
He's lying.
I
don't
know
think
he's lying.
Ever seen it.
So I knew this one wasn't going to be on your list. It's another one that kind of crosses genres a little bit. Like I said, not of the modern era. So we're going back to 1959 in Some Like It Hot. So
I knew that was his number one.
Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. Amazing movie. I seen this when I was a kid, and I was just channel surfing. It was the first time I had cable. It's like, oh, this is a mobster movie. It's a black and white mobster movie. So, Jimmy Cagney, if you watched any of his movies back in the day, he had some of the best mobster movies, and they were in black and white. And this started out as a great mobster movie. So you have Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon who witness a hit go down in Chicago. And they're like, oh, my God, we're going to be next on the list. We got to get out of town. So they jump on a train with a women jazz band. And to get on the train, they disguise themselves as women. So they join the band, and they're taking a trip from Chicago to Florida. And, they both playing their instruments as part of the band. And Tony Curtis sees Marilyn Monroe. She's the singer of the band, and he instantly falls in love. So he dons another disguise where he's this oil tycoon, and he's trying to woo her over, while Jack Lemmon is trying to stay in character as much as possible. He actually meets a real oil tycoon who's trying to woo him over. But the movie, it's fun. It's got some slapstick in it. Jack Lemmon, if you guys aren't familiar with that name, if you remember Grumpy Old Men.
Grumpy Old Men.
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, so he's in that movie, and I've seen. Anytime this movie's on, I'm definitely watching it, and it's definitely worth checking out.
Just for the record, too, just since it's Jack Lemmon, we mentioned since the Grumpy Old Men came up, that almost came into my list. Not the first one so much.
The second one, yeah.
Second one, Walter Matthau, the relationship between Walter Matthau and that Italian woman, that is romantic comedy material, hands down.
Sophia Loren.
Sophia Loren,
yeah.
Those are two of my, again, same era. Like, probably movies that were like on a VHS in my grandfather's boxes, whatever. And yeah, I love those movies, man. Good movies. Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, I'll get behind that. Anytime Jack Lemmon's on the list, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
And back at a time when drag was funny, funny thing, like you think about that movie, you probably couldn't make that movie these days. I don't know if you can get away with it.
It could possibly fall on one of our future lists on what shows or TV movies or anything like that are on the cancel culture list. Little plug for what's coming.
And it really shouldn't be. Well, we can talk about it later. But like that's a history. That's a stamp in history. That movie. That is a famous, legendary kind of film. A film. You can call it a film.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, that's it. That's it, folks. This has been 5 Things. I'm Charlie. That's Dave. Our guest Jen. Thank you so much for being with us. Remember, do us a favor. Click that like. Give us a subscribe. Hit the alert bell if you want to see any later videos you don't feel like searching for us. It makes it a little easier on you. We care about you. This has been 5 Things. Have a great evening or morning or
see you later.
Bye.